It's coming, people. There's going to be a general election in 2024.
My question today is, how do you feel about politics?
Very disappointed with the state of our country and our politicians. No faith in them whatsoever.
You picked the wrong person. I don't watch any news, I don't follow it, I don't give a
Are you old enough to vote?
No.
No,
I'm 16.
This podcast is dedicated to you if you maybe don't like politics, maybe you're not interested, or maybe you are 100% fed up with the general state of politics in the UK. But don't worry, this isn't about the ins and outs of party political nonsense. This is a practical look at the mechanics behind our UK political structure.
I read the news sometimes, but I just get bored, and then when you see politics on the news and stuff, it's like a bunch of children arguing, so it's I don't know. It's like the breaking news SpongeBob fish, and it's all over TikTok, and I love it. It's where I get my daily updates from news, especially politics and stuff. I'm Elle.
And
Ashley.
And you two lovely young people, you're good to go to vote.
Yeah.
Aye.
You're old enough to vote,
I am old enough to vote, yes.
and you do vote generally.
Yes.
Is it possible you're vaguely looking forward to the fact that we're going to have an opportunity to vote?
I don't think anything will change. I think both parties needs a new party. It's too old-fashioned, and it's not about giving us free childcare and free and upping the benefits. It's about being realistic and making the country better. They're the oldest political party, and they're acting like children. So they need to stop it.
Thanks for stopping by. Listen, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I'll be talking to women who'll be weaving me through some of the things that maybe I didn't know enough about and wanted to know more. And no offence to all the men out there, but I'm just a little bit tired of men telling me how I feel about politics, what I should think. There are more than enough women in this country who are experts, who are brilliant, who've got an awful lot to say. So jump aboard. My name's Michelle, and this is Politics and Rollers. You may be somebody out there who always votes, similar to some of the lovely people of Worcester. But maybe you're not. Maybe you are like some of the other people that I spoke to who has never voted or hasn't voted for ages, and maybe has moved house and forgotten to register. So this episode is for you. I'm really pleased today to be joined by Nikki Nixon from the Electoral Commission, who is going to walk us through all things related to getting ready to vote. Nikki, welcome to Politics and Rollers.
Hi, Michelle. Thank you so much for having me.
Now, Nikki, I'm very excited about today because voting can be, in fact, quite confusing. I thought I'll just start off with, what is the Electoral Commission?
Yeah, so the Electoral Commission, we're an independent body. We oversee the running of elections and referendums to make sure that they're free and fair. We work with representatives at electoral administrators at local councils who run the elections to provide them with guidance and advice. We provide information to voters as well so that they understand the voting process. And we're also a regulator of political finance. So that means that we are looking at the money that is spent and received by political parties and campaigners so that people around the UK can understand how parties are funded and what they're spending their money on.
So do you set the rules for voting in the UK?
No, we don't. The rules are actually set by government and they're approved by Parliament. The Electoral Commission's role is to help people understand the changes that are made. So we will help voters understand changes that are made. We'll also help administrators who work in councils and deliver the elections. We'll help them understand. You might know that last year there was the voter ID requirement was introduced. That was legislation brought forward by the government, but we help voters understand what that would mean for them on polling day, that they would need to take voter ID with them to the polling station.
Perfect. I understand. Alrighty. Obviously, we have a general election heading our way sometime soon. Hopefully in 2024, potentially it might slip into 2025. So it'd be great to understand today just the mechanics about voting. So Nikki, a really basic question. Who can vote?
That depends on what kind of election you want to vote in. If you want to vote, for instance, in an election to the Scottish Parliament or the Senedd in Wales, or in local elections in Scotland and Wales, you need to be 16 and over. However, if you want to vote in any other election, including a general election, you need to be 18 years old and over. There are also nationality requirements, so you need to be British or Irish. Some qualifying Commonwealth citizens can vote, and some EU citizens can vote in some elections. The best thing to do if you're unsure about eligibility is to check the Electoral Commission's website. So that's electoralcommission.org.uk. There's lots of information on there that will tell you what the eligibility criteria is for each election.
Right. Thanks for that. And I'm guessing that you can't just turn up on the day. So you need to do this thing called registering to vote.
That's right. So everybody who wants to vote does need to be registered. For instance, if you want to have your say at the local elections that are happening in England, and there are also London Assembly and London Mayor elections happening in May, people need to be registered by the 16th of April. But you don't have to wait until April. So as you said, there's going to be a general election coming up at some point in the next year. We don't know when that's going to be. So I'd say the best thing to do is to be ready and to be registered, and you can do that at any time. People could go online after they've listened to this show and they can register to vote. It's a really easy process, and people just need their name, their address, and their national insurance number. And that's it.
Tell me again, what's happening already on the 16th of April?
So
that's the deadline.
The deadline to register to vote. If you want to vote in May's elections, you have to register before the 16th of April.
So you can register to vote anytime.
Yes.
Basically.
Yeah.
And so then you're good to go if suddenly an election is announced.
Exactly that, yeah. So if you're not moving home in the next year, then I'd suggest registering now. You do have to re-register if you move house. So if you are moving house, you might want to register after that.
Okay, thank you. And what if I'm a student? If I'm at university, where do I register then?
You can actually register in two places. So this is particularly useful for students. So you can be registered at your term time address and at your home address. And it might surprise you to know that at a local election, you can actually vote in those two different addresses if they're in two different local authority areas. So if you normally live at home in Birmingham, but you go to university in Manchester, you're registered in both places. At a local election, you could vote in both places. At a general election, however, you can only vote in one place. You can only vote once.
I did not know that. So those lucky students get to vote twice.
They get to have a say in both the areas they live. Yep. At a local election.
At a local election. But for a national election, they can only vote once.
Yes. So they would have to pick which address they want to vote at.
All right. Brilliant. I love it. I love it when I learn something new. Now, what happens if I've broken my leg or if I'm living in Gibraltar? Don't know why I chose Gibraltar. It's Gibraltar today. Sorry. Could have chosen somewhere else. Maybe Gibraltar's an easy answer. So go ahead, Nikki. What if I'm overseas or I've broken my leg and I can't get there?
Yeah, so there are options actually. If you can't get to the polling station on polling day, you can either vote by post or you can vote by what we call proxy. You can appoint somebody to vote on your behalf, and they can go along to the polling station on polling day and they can vote for you. Those are the two options for you.
Brilliant. And how far in advance do postal votes kind of open?
Yeah, so you can apply for a postal vote at any time. Once the candidates in your area have been nominated and agreed, then you'll be sent the ballot paper, and then you have to fill it in and post it back. Or you could even drop it into the polling station on polling day itself if you want to. But again, there is a deadline. So if you want to apply to vote by post or by proxy, you'll need to apply before April next year if you want to vote in May. But again, you don't need to wait until then. You can put your application in now.
Lovely. So early, get yourself organised. That would help the lovely Electoral Commission and make sure that you're allowed to vote. Because I'm sure it gets a bit crazy towards the 16th of April, does it?
It
I'll
does,
leave
yes,
it.
yeah, absolutely. So it's local authorities who receive all of those applications rather than the Electoral Commission, but it can get really busy. So yeah, I would really encourage people to do it as early as they can.
Okay, so now on to the good stuff. If you can vote on the day and you fancy it, I'm desperate for this answer. Is it always on a Thursday?
Well, it is, but it doesn't have to be. It's very strange. So there's nothing in law that says polling day must happen on Thursday. It's kind of a convention. So general elections have been held on a Thursday since I think it was 1935, for a really long time. There are various theories online about why that is, but yeah, it doesn't have to be a Thursday, but it has become convention.
Whoa, interesting. Okay, and do you need to bring a dog?
You don't need to, but of course, it's great to see dogs at polling stations. We love to see those photos. You can't take a dog into the polling station, but you
Oh,
can
gosh.
absolutely take it with you on the day, secure it outside, and then celebrate with your dog once you've voted.
Okay, brilliant. And what time? So it is a Thursday for various bizarre reasons that we might not really understand. And what time is it?
So polling stations are open from 7 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. So if you're going to go and vote in person, you must go along between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. We've seen in the past sometimes there can be queues. As long as you're in a queue by 10 p.m., you will still be able to vote. For anybody who hasn't been inside a polling station, they are often in community centres, church halls, they can be in schools. Sometimes you find them in very unusual places, hairdressers or pubs. Yeah, so
That's
they
the
can
way
be.
forward. All go and get
Yeah,
your hair done and vote.
that would be handy, wouldn't it?
That'd be so great.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah. And is that because so are the polling stations determined by the local authorities, as in
Yes,
where they can allocate the space for voters to go?
that's right. Yeah, that's it. They're just looking for spaces in the local area that are easy for people to get to.
All right. So you touched on the ID bit, but it's really important because it's still quite new. Nikki, what is the ID that you have to bring along with you?
Yeah, so this is a new requirement. Voters need to take along either a passport, a driving license, some bus passes are accepted or blue badges. There's a full list of the eligible ID that you'll need to take on our website. So again, that's electoralcommission.org.uk. If you don't have any ID, because not everybody does, you can apply for what's called a voter authority certificate. So this is a free form of ID. It's an A4 piece of paper. It'll have your photo on it and your details, and you'll be able to take that along to the polling station on polling day to prove who you are.
Thank you.
Shall I quickly explain how to apply for that? Actually, I should have said.
Yes, great.
So there's a form online. You'll be able to. Again, there's lots of links on the Electoral Commission website for anyone who's unsure. Or you can talk to your local council if you can't go online, and you can ask them to help you with the application form.
Get your ID sorted, and then
Yep.
you can vote. What happens then when you get to a polling station?
So inside the polling station, there will be a desk with poll clerks sat there, ready to greet you. They'll ask you for your name and address, and they'll use that to check that you are registered to vote. So they'll have a copy of the register in front of them, and they'll check that you're on there. They'll then ask to see your ID, and once they've verified your identity, they'll give you the ballot paper. You take your ballot paper into a booth. You fill it in secret on your own. You'll be given a pencil to fill it in, and then you fold up your ballot paper and put it in the ballot box, and that's it. You've voted.
Is it an X?
So there are a couple of different systems. In most elections in the UK, we use first past the post. You put a cross, an X, next to the candidate that's your preferred candidate, and then the candidate with the most votes wins. In some elections, so in local elections in Scotland and Northern Ireland, and in elections to the Northern Ireland Assembly, we use a single transferable vote. So in that case, you'll still have the list of candidates, but you rank them. So you'll put a 1 next to your preferred candidate, a 2 next to your next preferred candidate, and so on. You don't have to number all of the candidates. You can just do one, or you can do the whole lot. It's totally up to you. And then they're counted in a slightly different way.
And is that the same for the mayoral elections, the regional mayors? Oh, no, it isn't, because I think the Act changed
that's
it last
recently
year.
changed. Yep. So that is also first past the post. So you'll just choose one candidate that's your preferred candidate.
Okay. So in the upcoming general election, it's one candidate, one choice.
That's right.
On the piece of paper that you're given, which is called a ballot.
A ballot paper. Yeah.
Ballot paper. What happens if you make a mistake? Can you go and get another one?
Yes, absolutely. There'll be plenty of staff in the polling station to help you. It can be very daunting when you go into a polling station for the first time, but actually, there are plenty of people around to help you, and people should feel comfortable to ask questions about the process. If you make a mistake, just talk to the polling staff that are there, and they'll be able to help.
And it's really important, I believe, that if you not to mark your ballot paper, because it then becomes what's called a spoilt ballot. And there's quite a lot of those that happen.
Yes, that's right. And actually, that's why typically we vote with a pencil. You can vote with a pen if you want to, but if you vote with a pen, there's a risk that when you fold the ballot paper in half, the mark will transfer elsewhere, and when they're counting the votes, they might not know who you've chosen to vote for. So it is important that you put that cross really clearly in the box that you've chosen, and that there are no other marks on the paper, to make sure that there can be no confusion as to how you want to vote.
What happens to your vote? What then happens to it?
So at the end of polling day, the boxes are secured, they're taken away to a count centre, and the votes are counted. And I think what's really interesting about the count is that it's an incredibly transparent process. So there are members of the various parties and campaigners who've taken part in that election, and they are watching as those votes get counted through the night, so that to make sure that no mistakes are made, and everybody is comfortable that the process has happened fairly.
Is there anything else that we need to think about for pre-election voters? What do they need to know? Or have we got everything covered? So they need to register, they need to think about their ID, they need to think about if they can't vote, if they're going to be overseas, somebody else can vote for them, sorting that out. You can vote by post. If you're a student and it's local, you can vote twice, go them. And then if you are a student, you need to decide where to vote, whether it's at your if you're at university and a student, at your university student address or at your home address. And you need to turn up between 7 o'clock in the morning to 10 p.m. and pick up that ballot paper, put an X in the box that you want, and off you go.
That's right. Have your say on polling day.
Thank you so much for giving your time to Politics and Rollers.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great to talk about it all.
Episode 1 of Politics and Rollers. Hope you enjoyed that. Please do send in if you have any burning questions that you'd like answered about the UK political structure. I will find an expert to help us. All I'd like to say now is Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and roll on 2024. Bye.